Mic off.
Tear down the bridges, drain all the rivers, burn down the town hall. There are no winners. Reload the weapons, sharpen the scissors, cut off the feathers, pull all the triggers.
Mic on.
All right. Let me unmute you here, sir. There we go.
Oh, hello.
A little bit smoother of a transition than last week.
Wrong.
All right. Yeah, no, that worked out pretty well. Let me get rid of the box there. Okay, cool. So we're back again. Second week in a row, to my surprise. Didn't know if we'd be able to do it, so hopefully, we can keep this trend going. Welcome to ColleidoCast, the only pop culture show, where we talk about anything from 80s nostalgia treasure to AAA modern day dumpster fires. I am JT, your host, and with me, as always,
The trusted co-host War. And yes, this is the only podcast where people give their opinions on anything.
specifically
Pretty
pop culture.
groundbreaking stuff here. Yeah, groundbreaking. You could call this. And unfortunately, JT did not do his homework today, or this week. Our
Nonsense.
episode was supposed to be about the Kingsman, the third movie in the Kingsman trilogy, or film series. I'm sure there's going to be more than just three. I saw it. It was a great movie. I would have loved to have talked about it, but unfortunately, we're talking about Invincible, right? Is that what we decided on?
Yeah, we figured that would be a decent one because it's something that we both recently watched, and it's still pretty relevant, I think. However, we are going to remedy the Kingsman thing because it's Saturday. We're gonna go ahead and see it, so should be good. Looking forward to it. You said it was the last day for you, I guess.
If in my local theater, I know it's playing at some other theaters that are further away.
Oh, okay. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, it was new films coming in. I'm guessing it wasn't too popular for it to already be out of theaters.
I mean, with blockbusters like The Matrix, what do you expect?
I mean, it was truly refreshing to see a movie that wasn't shit like The Matrix was, and yeah, again, I would have loved to talk about it, but I do also love the show Invincible. It's got a lot going for it. What do you want to talk about first?
All right, so I think an introduction for those who don't know. Invincible, it's a show on Amazon Prime. It's based off of a comic book. Some might say loosely based off of a comic book. By Robert Kirkland, the same guy who did The Walking Dead, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And just like The Walking Dead, that is pretty good too. I think I like this a bit more. Walking Dead got a little stagnant after about season 7 or whatever they're on. But yeah, this is a show about a kid whose dad is Superman, and he's just kind of like waiting for his powers to show up. And spoilers, they show up, and the show is all about kind of how he deals with life and deals with this new responsibility that he feels that has been thrust upon him. um, and also a lot of truths that come out of a tragedy that happens in the first episode. So it's a really interesting show.
It's a coming of age story, so to speak.
It's it's one of the most coming of ageist stories I've seen, and if you've seen the show, you know what I mean by that. It's it gets pretty wild.
It does get pretty wild. I think it's important to note that this is a cartoon. This is billed, I think, as an adult animated series,
hmm
where it is a cartoon. Everything's bright and colorful. But I think there's swearing. I don't know if they use the F word in it.
So
They definitely
so
say shit and stuff.
I definitely want to get to this before we just blow right through it. The first episode, I didn't really know what to expect from this show. I just kind of I went in blind and watched it. And as someone who really liked the Justice League cartoons growing up on Cartoon Network, it's drawn exactly like those cartoons basically. And the first honestly, I think it's most of the first episode until like the very end. It's basically exactly what you would expect out of an old Justice League cartoon. It was really
It's played straight. It's
right.
played totally straight.
There's like one bad word, I think, maybe. I think someone says damn. No
Yeah,
blood.
I mean, are we fine with just totally spoiling every episode of
It's
this?
been out for like half a year. I don't care.
Alright.
For future reference, I'm gonna put spoilers on all this for newcomers, just in case they don't know the show. I don't I don't know how to talk about stuff without spoiling it, and you know.
And so yeah, the first episode is really slow. It's played straight. It opens up with this big montage where the Justice League, this world's Justice League, they're called the Guardians of the Globe. They come in and they work together. They save the president. They save the day. Everybody's happy. And I remember watching this, and I sort of knew what this show was about going into it. And I was expecting, I was like, oh, something's gonna happen. And this was around the time when Batman was being crushed by the tank. I'm like, okay, they're all gonna die. And then that doesn't happen. And then the entire first episode goes by. It's like an hour and 15 minutes.
It's a long
And
one,
then,
yeah.
yeah, it's a very long episode. And then in the last 10 minutes, it really flips itself on. It flipped me on my head. The show flipped on its head. The characters. Wonder Woman was flipped on her head, I think you could say.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, to be honest. I even had them all brought up. I remember Darkwing, which you just called Batman, but
But yeah, I mean,
it's literally
a
JSA,
one
yeah.
for one parody of the Justice League. You've got the Flash, who is just called the Red Rush. He wears a red suit and moves really fast. He's the Flash. I mean, it's a one for one parody. Aquaman, Wonder Woman,
Dude.
Batman.
I loved what they did with like the Aquaman character. 'Cause he's probably honestly a little bit cooler than regular Aquaman, but he still looks and is sort of treated like a joke. When he finally
And he's
gets called, he's like, "Yay,
yeah.
I finally get to be used for something."
He's literally sitting down in his underwater kingdom, and the Justice League signal goes off, and he says, "Yes, finally."
It's amazing.
But to spoil it, they're all violently murdered at the end of the first episode, and you're like, "Oh, okay." So I've been essentially trolled, and that's where the series really starts. Is at the end of the first episode, where Omni-Man, who's this Superman-like character, again, almost verbatim Superman, murders everybody, and you don't know why, and that's sort of the main storyline of season one is, why did Omni-Man kill these people, and who, there's sort of a mystery involved where nobody knows how they all got killed or who killed them, and there's suspicions drawn towards Omni-Man, but nobody really knows, and it's a great premise for a story.
Right. So I guess more or less that's the beginning. So Omni-Man is he's the main character's, well, one of the main characters, but the titular character's dad, Invincible. His name is Mark, and his mother's a human. Omni-Man, he's quite literally Superman. He came from another planet. He did this superhero thing, got popular, nailed a woman, had a kid, and now he's sort of expected. He kind of expected his kid to have blown up much sooner. He's sort of a late bloomer, and I think it's episode 2 where Mark, he's just like out doing his fast food job as a regular boring ass human being, basically, and he like goes to throw the trash away, and they just he, he throws the trash and it goes into outer space. Yeah, sorry,
in outer space.
Auntie Vodka's in the chat, and that caught me off guard. Hey, how's it going? So yeah, that happens. He tells his dad about it, and they sort of, next day training starts, and this is kind of where you start seeing the father's expectations of his son sort of get in between their relationship. Granted, you don't find out till later he don't care that much about their relationship. It's more about just.
Oh, again, that's where
I don't want to get there just yet, but yeah, it's.
That's the basis of the coming of age story, where I think a lot of people who have fathers that were really great people do sort of feel that. He has big shoes to fill, and that his father is literally the most powerful man in the world. He is the superhero. He's, again, like, if Superman had a kid, the world would be on that kid's shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And the
basically,
way that materializes or manifests itself in the human drama element of the show, I think just works perfectly. And all of the characters feel human, even though Omni-Man is an alien.
There's one character I'll get to later, but
the mother, who was played by Sandra Oh, and I hate Sandra Oh, and I know Sandra Oh has a very large hate group, I guess. Like, she doesn't have fans so much as she has anti-fans.
What's so bad about her? I don't know anything about her.
I think this goes all the way back to when she was, her first big role was in the Grey's Anatomy. And not that I ever watched Grey's Anatomy, but I remember my wife watched Grey's Anatomy. And whenever Sandra Oh was on the screen, like, she would just make my skin crawl.
Okay.
And she's just hideous. She looks goofy. Like, her character was always a bitch. I don't know, but
just one of those.
She almost plays herself in the art of the mother looks a lot like Sandra Oh's, in real life. But her, Mark, who is, Invincible, and Omni-Man all feel very human. They all have moments of just, regret. They have moments of vulnerability. And even Omni-Man exhibits humility, I think, in a lot of the earlier episodes anyway, when he's trying to deal with the stress of his son getting the powers and keeping his marriage together, which is, having its own issues. And those are all things that are relatable. And it's just cast in this, comic book universe. And I think that's what makes it work for me, is stuff like that.
Yeah, Omni-Man, by the way, he's played by I cannot remember the actual actor's name,
Jameson,
but
from
everyone
the
knows
Spider-Man trilogy.
Everyone knows who that is, and he does a great job here. I used to know the guy's name. He's actually a really good actor. If you haven't seen what's it called, Whiplash, go watch that. It's a really good movie. So the first real, I want to say, like, wall for Mark that you end up seeing is when he first meets the what's the Teen Titans in this called? It's like 3 or 4 of them.
I think they're called, like, Team Force.
Yeah, I cannot remember what it is. It might as well be Teenage Kicks from frickin' The Boys. It doesn't matter that much. But anyway, you've seen it before. You know what it is. It's the Teen Titans. It's got Adam Eve, the guy literally named Robot, Rex, and some girl whose name I can't remember. I think she, like, duplicates herself or something.
Her name is Duplicate.
Duplicate.
And her real name is Kate, and I didn't know this I didn't realize this the first time I watched it. In fact, that's one of the things I wrote down, was how clever the name Duplicate is, and her name is Kate, and it's brilliant.
It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. So this is something, just to give you an idea of sort of like the the humor, the adult humor in this show, the first thing that I thought of when they introduced Duplicate, who is a woman who can make copies of herself, is like, boom, you could have a threesome without ever having, without the arguments. You don't have, you know, you don't have any of the weird jealousy and trust issues involved.
Could you
Like, she
imagine?
can just
Like
duplicate
what if?
herself. Like, that'd be amazing. And then, like, the next episode, the dude's banging all three of her at the same time. I'm like, yeah, like,
Yeah, how about that?
it felt so real, you know?
It was basically the exact same scene that you saw out of Watchmen, like the very beginning, where there's like 4 Dr. Manhattans. One's taking a shower, one's working.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first big fight here, these aliens, this portal shows up, in wherever they are, New York or something, and they have these freaking laser guns and all this, you know, alien technology is just freaking destroying everybody. So here comes teenage kicks or whatever, and they're struggling to fight these things, but they're holding their own for the most part. And here comes Mark, never fought anyone to the death before ever. Someone gets like eviscerated in front of him, and he just doesn't know how to handle it. I think like he does help. They do end up sort of thwarting them for just a second. I don't even think Omni-Man gets involved here. He does the next time though.
Yeah, Omni-Man is, I believe, still infirmed at this point.
Oh yeah, because of the whole thing,
From
right?
the fight at the end of the first episode, he is hospitalized. So Mark is now thrust out to become a superhero. He's got no guidance, and he sort of has a panic attack.
Is this the one where he saves the old lady? I don't remember.
This is the one where he saves the old lady, and this is
Yeah.
where the show sort of looks at some of the stuff that you don't see in these comic book movies, where
The realism.
When a building's destroyed and collapses, and you know there's explosions, and it looks cool in a Michael Bay movie, or it looks cool in, you know, when Superman's flying around fighting. But in reality, when those buildings are collapsing, people are being horribly maimed and mutilated. You know, their limbs are being ripped off. They're being crushed to death. Their children are dying right in
Just
front of them.
the worst of the worst.
It really horrifying stuff that really traditionally comic books and comic book type entertainment overlooks for understandable reasons. But
Marvel just started touching upon that back in like 2015 with Civil War. You know, that was the whole kickoff of that movie was, oh, well, when you guys saved the world, you kind of killed my kid when the freaking Empire State Building fell right on his head. Auntie Vodka says saving old ladies is really nice, not gonna lie, so figured I felt like that fit here. But
he does. He saves her.
So you know, they're just now dipping their toes in the water of that. Well, I think, man, I don't remember when this came out. I want to say it was 2011 when this comic book came out. And they, you know, Robert Kirkman, he was already like unraveling the whole comic book storytelling genre, you know, and he does it in good form here, I feel like. So yeah, they save the old lady and I guess other people because the aliens do retreat. There's some high school. I honestly, I'll be honest, I don't remember what happens in between here and the second part. It's just like high school drama, basically.
There is high school drama.
I think he hooks up with Amber at this point. I believe that's what happens soon after this.
Sure, I mean he's
my least
there's
favorite
a love
character.
triangle between you know, Invincible and a couple female characters. Amber, you know what? You talk a lot about Amber.
Yeah, I have a reason.
I don't even think about her. She's clearly, in my mind, only in the story as an obstacle between Mark and Adam Eve getting together. Since clearly that's where I mean, to me, that seems to be where the show is leading. But they have to have that, you know, it's bullshit. Like, I don't really care about him dating high school girls.
I'm with you there. My issue with her is not that she's, you know, just a bitch or whatever. It's quite literally the fact that she's either poorly written or she's a psychopath, one or the other. Because there's a bit near the end of the show, they all the Mark and all of his friends, her included, they're dating at this, like seriously dating at this point, and he's kind of he's been struggling to juggle the superhero and boyfriend life. Understandable, all that stuff was pretty well done, I think. Uh, but they get to this college that they're going to visit. It's a field trip, and there's a mustache twirling supervillain who
Who, to me, is a clear reference to Herbert West.
yeah, I think you're right.
You know what? I never saw anyone else say that, but just the way he talks is almost identical to the canter of Herbert West in the Reanimator film.
And he basically does that. It's not
And
a
he
serum.
reanimates corpses.
He takes people, he didn't kill them, but he turns them into robots basically, like these mindless cyborg zombies, and they're really strong and hard to deal with. Long story short, one of these zombies, he shows up, Mark's there with his friends, and they're like, oh my god, friggin' bad things happening. What do? And he's got to go put a super suit on and come back and deal with it. So he just runs, And to the viewer, and you would assume his friends, it looks like he's bitching out, like he's just like, I'm out. This is too crazy. Bye. Comes back as invincible, saves the day. Sometime after this, he goes to reveal himself as invincible to Amber, and she's like sitting there packing up and whatever. And
Sure,
she
and
reveals
Amber is angry at him because
she's angry at him.
when he runs off to the the phone booth to change into his outfit. From her perception, he's just gone, nowhere to be found.
But
and
she
is rightfully angry.
But she claims to have known for a long time that he was invincible.
Yeah, I guess.
Which means that she knew before that.
Is that confirmed?
I don't remember the exact
that?
line, but she knew before that. That's why I'm like, okay, she's either just poorly written, which is what seems to be more likely, or she has amnesia, or she's a psychopath, one or the other.
I would lean on just being poorly
other.
written. Like I said, she doesn't even feel like a fully fleshed character to me. She really just seems like that love interest hurdle just to create some drama. Just
and you're probably
the
right.
same as Adam Eve had her own relationship issues with some guy who's an asshole. He's an asshole in general, but he's specifically an asshole to Mark. He's dating Adam Eve and then cheats on her with all three of Duplicate, which is still one of my favorite scenes. This takes us pretty much to about the halfway point in the series. Before we talk about the ending,
which is the big talking point.
Yeah, the big talking point. I'd like to talk about just some of the other stuff that I like about this this series. One being the animation is spectacular.
Yes.
I've seen a few animes. I know a lot of anime prides itself on very detailed animation. This specifically, the body language, Mark is a shy, sort of, timid kid in school, and he's constantly like rubbing his neck and like putting his hand, like like look. His eyes are always looking away. And that body language, when you put your hand on your neck, that is essentially a sign that you're uncomfortable or feel threatened, because that's a remnant from when you're at risk, you would try to block your defend your neck, defend your throat. When you're surprised, you put your hands up and you duck your head down, because of a threat. If you're being like questioned by like a boss that's chewing you out, you might like shrug your shoulders up. That's again, you're tensing up, you're defending your neck, and just like the depictions of Mark's body language throughout the series when he's just timid, and and then he gets more confident in the end, and he like puff his chest out, not quite like the Superman barrel chest.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just always blown away by how real or how illustrated the characters' emotions were, and through the animation. thoughts?
Yeah, man. I've had a few thoughts. I've been watching a lot of animation recently, and
Hmm.
there's two-ish like shows that come to mind. Recently, I've been watching something called Jujutsu Kaisen, not Jujitsu, which is what I thought it was for the longest time until I watched it. It's Dragon Ball, but they pretend like the energy has something to do with the spirit world. So far, having watched it, not really. Anyway, um, the last episode, and this is like a tendency for a lot of animes, like the last episode of a season or last couple, they'll be like super animated, you know. And the main character and one of his friends who was helping out in this fight, they they're walking through the forest afterwards, and they're just talking to each other, and I just see them like looking up at the sky and looking down, and looking this way, and doing all this and that. I'm like, I almost wonder if that's over animated. Like I don't know if I'd be doing all that, if I was just walking and talking with somebody. And then you have the Castlevania show, which the draw like the art style to me it looks good. I like it, but it is animated, no joke, at like 3 frames a second. It is really hard to watch.
Ugh.
I don't understand how they got away with doing that. Like when Castlevania came out, that show got praised up and down by everybody. The story is fine. The story is pretty good with the game, But man, that animation. I don't know how you grow up in a world with Pixar and Marvel and all this Studio Ghibli and half the freaking animation studios in Japan, and you watch that and you go, yeah, it's a pretty good show. Really liked it. I just I, that there's animation that will just straight up, it'll not only take you out of the show, it makes you not even want to watch it. Like I might as well just be reading a comic, you know.
Sure, you've got to have something that's
This
visually appealing.
this hits a good balance. It's really well animated. It's very smooth.
The action
Natural.
scenes are always great. The only flaw in the animation, some of the 3D rendered stuff looks horrible.
Yeah, you
There's a
can't.
couple, like
Yeah.
and sometimes they go by so fast that you don't notice. But some of like the 3D models of people running or like the cars flipping over just look so jank. They look like takes you all the way back to Lawnmower Man. It's like right. It's like the
I haven't seen that
hand
movie in a long
drawn
time.
cartoons. Like the 3D effects in there are hitting the lowest point of CGI that's ever existed.
So man, I wonder if you remember this. Uh, you probably know what Reboot is.
I'm familiar with it. I've never
Okay.
watched it.
Yeah, I've never watched it either, but I saw it. Well, I saw a couple episodes. That I always thought that show looked terrible, even when I was a kid. I was like,
Hmm.
because I had the PS1 and this and that, and there's a lot of crappy animation on the PS1. Let's be clear. But we knew it was a video game, and we knew it was like 2001. Like we were getting there. The PS2 was just coming out. But there's another show. I know you know what Johnny Quest is. They had a when I was like, man, 5 or something. They had a version of that show that was supposed to be like a sequel to the original like Hanna-Barbera cartoon,
Uh huh.
and the whole gimmick was that they would jack into the Matrix, basically, and they would do missions. I don't know. I can't remember, but there was a 3D aspect to it.
Was it awful? Was
Yeah,
it?
of course it was. It was so bad. And that kind of reminded me of those two shows specifically. Um, yeah, I don't know if they're worth watching. I'll be honest.
I wouldn't recommend them.
the two, the
Not that I've seen either of those shows, but if you like
watch an
good
episode.
animation,
Morbid
yeah, sure.
curiosity.
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you have a point. I was gonna say another thing I love about Invincible is that really watching it feels like reading a fanfic that's been professionally produced. It's like what would happen if you had Hellboy versus Superman or like the Hulk versus Gambit, because so many of these characters are just carbon copies of superheroes from other franchises that we know or perhaps love, and a lot of it just feels like, okay, like that's really cool. That's just so cool. Like, you have a demon from hell investigating the
Oh yeah,
murders of the Justice League. I mean, like,
forgot about
just
that guy.
just so many interesting things. Um, it's just fun. It feels fresh. It's like, how can you make a superhero piece of entertainment without retreading ground that's just been so super saturated over the past 2 decades, and they found a way to do it. And uh, I love that aspect of it. Like,
Hmm.
so many things are just clearly inspired or just borrowed heavily. Like, you've got the episode, like the Daredevil episode, where the Kingpin and the gritty crime underworld, and you've got the space episode where they go to outer space and it's like an alien, and you got the face huggers. Like,
That was pretty great. Yeah.
What if Superman fought xenomorphs? That kind of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, they I think that kind of goes into another little thing I have written here, world building, and I think they do a pretty good job of that. They there was a couple of instances in the story that really interest me, and one of those is the fact that again, spoilers, it's already here. Um, Robot, his name's Robot, right? I'm pretty sure it is.
Robot.
He's like
Just
this.
Robot.
He's this robot that doesn't look like he was built anywhere where robots would be built. He looks like an alien piece of technology, and I don't know if I don't think he is, but he somehow as a robot he falls in love with some character. I think it's Monster Girl.
That is something I wanted to bring up, because that's probably one of the most awkward parts of the show. Is
Oh yeah,
this weird relationship between Robot and Monster Girl.
and
And I don't know
Rex.
and I don't know what they're going for. Well, Rex seems to have a pretty platonic relationship with Monster Girl. Robot, it seems, I don't know. Admittedly, so there's a character, Monster Girl, who, to the show's credit, is 27, but
Oh
she's
yeah, it's a real weird.
yeah, it feels like just gross. It still feels dirty and gross, because
It's
she's written as that she has a curse where she ages in reverse when she uses her powers, and it feels like just some gross Japanese.
I was gonna say
Uh, like,
it's the lolly vampire that's
yeah,
a
it's
thousand
like.
years old. Yeah.
But I mean, robot's a robot, so it's like, I don't know. I don't get it.
I guess to their credit though, he does. There's a sequence. I don't know. I think he started this like at the beginning of it, or I guess when he first saw Monster Girl, so pretty early on, and he calculates this insane plan to basically upload his brain into a clone, I guess,
Sure.
which is also a kid. So at least there's that. Eh, spoilers, he's successful. So now he's this now he's not a robot. He can die now, and
Which,
he's
yeah, that felt like a downgrade to me. He went from being a robot suit that was super overpowered and had been, like, essentially crushed into just mechanical heaps a couple times, and now he's like a 15-year-old kid in this robot suit. Feels like a huge downgrade. I'm not sure
I
what
think
they
he
were
still
doing with
has
the writing.
I think he still has like something in his brain. I think he still has connection to other uh, versions of like his robot self. Like, there's more than just the one. There was like a bunch. I
Are there
remember there being
multiple
a few of
robots?
them at least. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there were.
Possibly. Yeah, I think at one point it does show one robot collapses and then, like, the other robot walks in.
It's pretty wild
Uh,
stuff.
Wild stuff. One thing that I gotta say really concerns me about this show is that it's produced by Seth Rogen,
Oh really?
who it is, yeah, and he's also the voice of the alien from I don't know, he's from some council. He's the alien with
Alan
the
the
big
Alien.
eye. Is that what his name is? Alan the
Alan the
Alien?
Alien. Yeah.
That's Seth Rogen, and I believe he's either producer or executive producer on this show. And Seth Rogen is just straight.
Seth
pure cancer.
Rogen. All right. You know what? I gave Seth Rogen the benefit of the doubt, and I don't want to go too far off on this. Recently, And I just heard this through podcasts. I didn't go and find it myself, but enough people talked about it. I'm pretty sure it's verified. Dude named Casey Neistat, also a rich guy, a rich-ish guy. He's got money. Um, he went on Twitter one day, complained that his car had been broken into. I believe they live in the same place. It was in Chicago. And he complains about his car being broken into. Seth Rogen replies, "This city is amazing. That's just part of living in the city, basically." It's like, okay, you fucking rich prick piece of shit. What is wrong with you?
His brain, I think his brain is just destroyed from a lifetime of psychedelic use and excess marijuana and other types of drug use.
I'm gonna go with it's destroyed and out of touch from being in Hollywood so long.
Yeah, I mean the thought that Seth Rogen has a career, a future as being a Hollywood executive, is just so disheartening because I don't want to see anything come out of that guy. Like, go star in a goofy comedy. The guy's fucking insane. His politics are shit. He's a literal cancerous human being. When he goes out and tweets shit, you can just tell that he's a fucking smug asshole that any other person would have been hit in the mouth. You know, if you said the kind of things that guy says to people, you'd get hit in the mouth. But he says it atop his ivory throne, and his involvement in the show does not give me hope for the future. And I hope I'm wrong because I loved season 1. But man, that guy, I just feel like anything he touches, or anything that he has creative input in, he's a great, he's a good actor. I've liked him in a lot of movies.
He's all right.
But I don't care about his opinions because opinions are all trash.
Like much of Hollywood. Yeah.
Like much of Hollywood.
That is a but not to get too far into the weeds with that. I just had to say that because like the fact that someone expects you to as a working class just normal person, like you should just expect that. That's like being in an abusive relationship and getting beat up every day, and you're like, well, yeah, I mean, you should just expect that. It's part of the whole. He does love you. Like,
he provides for you. He slaps you around a little bit sometimes. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, just so everybody out there knows, you should not expect or tolerate any violence against your person or any destruction or violation of your property. Those are not things that either I or JT stand for. So don't listen to that asshole.
Yeah, endorse that.
To go back, you were talking about world building. It's like they have.
Yeah, so we brought up like the so it starts off pretty well with the Guardians of the Globe, the teenage team I can't remember the name of, unfortunately.
I think it's Teen Force.
Sure, it's Teen Force. So you got those two. These are very well known JSA kind of. Well, not even that. It's just Marvel and DC tropes. You have like the Runaways. That's a Marvel teen team. Then you have Teen Titans, obviously, and there's another one that's basically the Runaways but DC. And then JSA and the Avengers. These things are all.
What is JSA?
Justice Society of America.
Okay.
Or JLA. Sorry, it's Justice League of America. Yeah, I used to be a comic nerd. I'm not really a comic nerd anymore because they kind of just rehash the old stuff over and over again and make it bad. But yeah, so they clearly know what world they want to build and they do it well. And kind of like you said, they have these sort of carbon copies, but that's really only in like identity and power for the most part. These people have their own character for sure, and that's why obviously we kept watching because they're interesting enough to keep watching. It's not quite like One Punch Man, I like that show. The characters are not great in One Punch Man. Like some of them are. Like I like a lot of the good guys, but a lot of them are just people with powers to be there for variety.
One of the main heroes in One Punch Man is a guy who just like rides a bike and wears a tank top or something. Like, I mean,
Yeah. The
Punch
tank.
Man is also very satirical and a very satirical.
Oh, it's a great show. It's just it knows what it is, you know. Um, and yeah, like you have Monster Girl. Honestly, she's probably one of my favorite characters because A, she's present for most of the story,
Mhm.
and B, she has an interesting gimmick that thankfully is not taken advantage of in the way that I
She
was
she
fearing it
does.
would.
Her character really is interesting because she does struggle with the fact that she is an adult trapped in a young girl's body. And she even said, she's like, I can't get a date. Like, all the people who want to date me are weird fucking pedos, you
Right?
know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it does joke about that. But, some of the other characters, yeah, Robot was like this, like, little worm in a tank.
No, he was
Like,
just that was
he looks
a
like Quato from just the chest part of Quato
yeah,
from Total Recall. And he's in a tank, and he clones himself a new body using. Do you know those twins? What their name were?
the Meta Twins, I want to say.
The Meta Twins. I'm really interested in those
Those guys
characters.
are great.
They were very. I think they were meant to be sympathetic. They are the
Hmm.
initial bad guys that the Guardians of the Globe defeat.
Which is so great, by the way, because they are so comic book. Like that's exactly what you'd see out of like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Is a guy who clones himself, and they're both very strong, but they never kill anybody throughout the entire series. They're bad guys. They shoot guns at people. They attempt to kill people. They attempt to kill the president in episode 1, but I specifically noticed that they never actually killed anybody throughout the season, and I think they're meant to be sympathetic, and I suspect that they'll be portrayed as good guys at some point. I think
Yeah,
they'll come around.
yeah. I certainly never hated them for sure. They were great characters, and that just that's just a testament to the world building and character building that this show has done pretty well. I think the fact that I haven't even watched this show in I don't know 6 months or something. Like there's the think Mark think meme. That's what I got to go off of right now. The fact that I remember as much as I do from this show is pretty crazy. I'll be honest.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um,
Before we get into the end and the finale of
which
the
like
series, are
right
there any
there.
other characters that you think are interesting?
I really liked. I can't remember his name, but he's the black dude who can like what is it like he can make him his skin steel or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's like Colossus.
Yeah, he's basically Colossus, and he's trying to basically take over his boss, who's like this all-knowing meta computer man. Like he's a mob boss who also has the knowledge of like the multiverse in his brain or something. Long story short, he does get. I don't know if he dies, but he gets knocked out of the position. And that story was really interesting because he goes to Invincible for help. They have a little scuffle. That character was really interesting. I liked him a lot. I definitely suggest you go and watch it to see that. It's a small arc. It's like 2-3 episodes.
See, and that's I think it's a single episode, and it was sort of like a standalone episode
Right. Yeah.
almost, and it was Mark sort of learning, or rather his father was trying to explain him the difference between big picture and small picture, and Omni-Man and Invincible are the big picture superheroes like Superman who go and stop asteroids, and this was him sort of mucking about in the murky underworld where you see characters like Daredevil and to a lesser extent Spider-Man, at least more traditionally Spider-Man. I know nowadays Spider-Man's off in like fighting space battles
He
and
might
shit.
as well be Superman. Yeah.
But yeah, this was a mob boss, and uh, he burns down his own buildings for the insurance, despite the fact that there's families living inside of them, and everybody's poor. It's a poverty-stricken area, and he lives literally at the top of an ivory tower with like Chinese mahogany doors or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really, this guy is portrayed as very sympathetic, and he wants out of this mob boss syndicate. He wants out of the crime syndicate. He only did it because he owed some money due to some bad mistakes. He loves his daughter. He wants to protect his daughter, but in the end, he really manipulates Invincible into taking out his competition, and then he becomes the crime boss, and is really set up for a future story arc in the next season.
Which they do. Which basically this whole season is doing.
Yeah, like almost every episode has a little curly cue at the end
Right.
or at the end of the season they go back and it's like everything that we've seen. Here's the current status of it, and this is what we can expect in season 2. So I am looking forward to season 2.
Same. Yeah. And
Rex, I really didn't care about. He just seems kind of like an ass. So he's like the Gambit.
well,
He like charges
he
coins
kind of
instead
yeah.
cards.
He sort of I don't remember exactly how, but I remember seeing a couple of scenes where he did try to like, you know, redeem himself, and I was like, yeah, you know, it's the thought that counts, I guess. He's not the worst person ever, and I remember seeing those scenes and just thinking, I know there's people watching this who just don't care, like you did the bad thing, you're canceled, like that's it. You know what I mean? Because it's partially the world we live in anyway. I'm like, that kind of stuff kills me. But yeah, no, he's like you said, he's basically the Gambit. He makes coins explode or something. He makes something explode. I forget exactly what his power is.
There's an Ant-Man character, Shrink Ray.
Oh
She
man.
hasn't done much.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember.
Yeah, so I think that about covers the majority of the show,
Hmm.
up until the end, in which it is revealed why Omni-Man killed um, the Guardians of the Globe. And I gotta say, I remember.
Oh, you might have to back up a little bit here, actually.
What am I forgetting?
So,
Are we talking about Immortal? Because I was just about to bring him up.
no, not him. So there's an origin story told about Omni-Man in the first couple episodes. I think he's telling his sons like, "Hey, listen, we come from this planet that's basically Krypton, and you know, our whole thing, our race's thing, is to go out into the universe and go to other planets and help those planets get to a point where we like where we were at, like technologically and everything." That's a lie. That's not true at all. They actually come from a planet full of basically survival of
Hold
the
on,
fittest.
you're,
Yeah,
you're
yeah. Go
jumping.
go ahead. Go
You're
ahead.
the
Go
one
ahead.
jumping up
Go.
there.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So,
Go.
so what I was always I remember specifically thinking at the end of the first episode, they every single there's it's like a 10-minute montage where they show the life and the backstory of every single one of these Justice League people who are then all violently murdered. The only one that they didn't show any sort of backstory for was the Immortal, or just Immortal. He's an immortal man, and then they essentially they think he's dead. They dig him up, they revive him, and then that's when it shows his backstory. It shows him like in the Crusades, and God only knows how long he's been alive for, but it sort of starts to show some of his stuff. He comes back to life, and then he's like, Omni-Man murdered everybody. He flies in, goes to fight Omni-Man, and is essentially killed again in front of Mark. And that's when Omni-Man has no choice but to explain what's going on. And that's when we learn the truth about Viltrum, his home planet, where they do all have superpowers, but it is, like you said, a survival of the fittest, and he's essentially part of a war effort. If you want to explain what exactly the mission of the Viltrumites is.
So, the mission of the Viltrumites is pretty simple. Universal conquest. It's that. That's all it is. It's they send out, I guess, one person or Viltrumite per planet. They just kind of go around and find planets that haven't been conquered, and they go and conquer them. That's what they do. That's it.
Sure, and they go there. Omni-Man is there to weaken Earth, And once Mark gets his powers, that essentially is what caused them to murder all of the Guardians of the Galaxy, so that he and Mark could begin to like essentially destroy Earth and prepare them for Viltrumite invasion.
Yeah, he really shows
And
his
then,
true colors here. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And this is
'cause why not?
where it goes into full-on action mode. Um, so there is a league, sort of like a it's they're actually based at the Pentagon. I can't remember what they're called, but they're led by a man who is essentially Raiden from the first Mortal Kombat movie.
The guy with the scar or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a scar. And he like disappears in
he
a
teleports.
burst of electricity, and he can teleport. And
It's like head of the CIA or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, but specifically for superhero shit. And they essentially throw everything they can at him. They shoot him with a giant satellite laser, and Omni-Man just flies up.
I'm gonna set you up for something real quick. That must have been really hard for Omni-Man to deal with, right?
Actually, super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
You got me into that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad. The guy makes great videos, and they're super digestible. This is a shout. We're not endorsed or sponsored by anybody, but this guy, his name is Ryan George. He does Screen Rant. He works for a content company called Screen Rant, and he has a series of videos called Pitch Meetings, where he pitches, his idea for these movies. He basically just breaks down all the shit that's fucky with these movies.
It's great.
Yeah, that's one of his catchphrases. And it was super easy, barely an inconvenience. And actually, one of my favorite scenes. So Omni-Man brutally murders this team of agents that are sent to subdue him, and he like crushes their skulls and like rips them in half.
Yeah, it's horrible
and
stuff.
He meets up with this guy who I can only describe as adult Bobby Hill. Do you know who I'm talking about when I say that?
I vaguely remember him. Yeah.
Like put a picture of him.
Oh yeah, with the glasses. Yeah.
He's adult Bobby Hill, and he finds out that they've been spying on him, and he like sticks his hand into the guy's back and like squeezes his spine, and before the guy dies, he reaches and he hits like the detonate button, and it explodes, and everything is just completely incinerated, and Omni-Man is standing there when the smoke clears, completely untouched, and when he opens up his hand, parts of the guy's spine fall out, because they were not incinerated, because they were closed in his fist. I thought that was such a great detail, and really drove home how powerful this character is.
So obviously, Mark gets wind of this. He goes to face his dad, figure out what's going on. Like when he gets there, he's under the impression that his dad is dealing with a comic book trope. He's been mind controlled, or there's a chip, or blackmail, something.
He's in denial.
And obviously that's not the case. And so, they fight. That's kind of the best way I can put it.
This is the big battle. Omni-Man versus Invincible, his son.
There is one scene in the fight that really stuck with me, and I think it stuck with everybody. They go to France or something. He punches Mark into another country, and then they're in this subway station.
Oh, I thought that was like, I took that as being Chicago.
I don't know. There was a subway station. It was another part of the world. That's what I remember. Because this whole fight did that.
He gets thrown through a building, which then collapses, and like he tries to save a woman and her child, and they're both just crushed by the steel. And then Omni-Man comes, hits them, and they punch down into the subway system for what is essentially the most violent, gory scene
you've ever seen. Period. Probably.
Period.
He picks Mark up by like the face basically, and he just holds him there as this train comes, and he just because they're both Viltrumites and they're basically Superman. Nothing really hurts them. Apparently, the laws of physics don't apply to them either. And he just they just tear through the train as it comes through him. You just see like blood and body parts and everything flying past.
Explode.
And like this right here is the the camera angle. It's just like looking at Mark and then just shit coming from behind his
Well,
head.
it's from behind. It's from behind. It's Mark from behind, and he's just like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you just see all these people hitting him at like 100 miles per hour,
See,
and they just explode. Their guts rip out, and it's just, yeah, it's it's a pretty impressive scene. Yeah,
which
so
is it's a really cool juxtaposition to me actually, how from to loop back around how from the beginning of the show, it's like this Cartoon Network Saturday morning cartoon style show to Heavy Metal 2000 or something. Like
sure, sure.
it pretty interesting to me there. And I think they did that on purpose, to be honest. Like it ramped up as the show went
I
on, I
mean,
think.
it was almost ridiculous.
Hmm.
He grabs some guy by the face and then just crushes him, and like all that comes out is like a brain and like a spinal cord and stuff.
Over the
Eyeballs are
top.
like popping out. Yeah, it's totally over the top, hugely entertaining. Anyone who's in that kind of stuff, but um, Omni Man is talking about how they live for. Do they live for millions of years or tens of thousands of years? They live for a very long time. And he says that his wife and what who was Mark's mother as well. He's like, yeah, I love her, but more as a pet.
Hmm.
So
That
he
kind of
is.
sets him off, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean that's almost. It really gives you the mindset of Omni Man, and then he's just basically brutally murdering his own son, and he says, "What's 17 years to me? I'll just make another son." And he just is
Hmm.
pounding him over and over as Mark lies limp and increasingly bloody and disfigured. And eventually he does. He has a change of heart.
For some
There's
reason.
a there's a sentimental scene where he thinks back to Mark says something about like he's like, I still have you. You're still my dad. And Omni Man has a flashback to when he sort of first, uh, to the viewer anyway. It's when he first realizes what parenthood is, and that he does like this little kid that he's been raising. And he sort of has a change of heart, and it sort of is kind of a cop out ending. He just flies away. He flies away, and the show ends.
Well, it sort of ends. So he flies off, and there's a little bit of aftermath with Mark and his friends, and essentially, basically, they just kind of come together and deal with stuff. And I mean, after that happens, like what what isn't water under the bridge? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so yeah, pretty much right there, the show ends. I think he talks to Alan one more, sorry, Seth Rogen one more time, and there's like
Yeah,
a there's a little
there's
clip
an
that brings up
important
all those things that they dealt with over this, or that he dealt with over the
all
season.
all the dangling plot threads. They loop back to sort of like a where are they now, and it's like this. They're like so the world is now a world without Omni Man, and at this point, Mark has now come of age, and he has to fill completely, not just temporarily, like when Omni Man was hospitalized. He now has to become the superhero, the Superman of Earth, and
I'm assuming that's what next season's going to be all about.
that's what it seems like. You know, in Immortal, they tease that Immortal is still not dead, which I wouldn't expect him to be, especially 'cause his second death seemed less lethal than his first death.
You can
And
only imagine how many times he's actually died too. You know.
yeah, and I really hope to learn more about his character, especially you know the teases, the sort of flashbacks that they showed of him, like as a knight in shining armor, like riding in the battle on horseback. I don't really remember anything besides that, but has he fought in wars? Uh,
There's a lot that
has
can
he
be told there.
was he around when Christ walked the earth? I'd really like to see more on this character, and I hope that's what they do for season two. What do you hope to see out of the following season?
Um, ultimately, I think it'd be really nice to see all those threats come back. Yeah, I definitely want to see how, because it's not just going to be Mark; it's going to be Mark and his friends. I want to see how all the younger heroes deal with it, because that's all that's left. They are the new and they actually, we didn't talk about this, but they did have a testing phase or whatever for like the new Guardians of the Globe, and they got them. They're there. They didn't do much. I don't remember. Anyway, I don't remember them doing much.
Are you talking about the Teen Force that is now
Yeah,
the
yeah.
new
So
Guardians of the Galaxy?
yeah, and it's characters that were, I want to say, two of them were involved with Teen Force, and then there was some other ones like I'm pretty sure Monster Girl was a part of it. Anyway, so I'm curious to see how all those characters who are basically these up and coming, younger, less experienced people have to deal with things like an alien threat that might turn the entire planet into face hugger monsters. Like that's kind of interesting. That was one of the things that happened to another planet. But
Yeah, and I don't think it brought this up, but I thought one of those facehuggers did sneak back to Earth on the
yes,
guy's suit,
yes.
and it didn't even tease that. So I'm not sure if they just sort of forgot about that or
No, no, no. It
what's
was
going on with the
at the end.
facehuggers.
At the end, it was teased because it showed.
I think it showed the guy in front of them, right?
Yeah, it's back.
So that'll be interesting.
That episode was actually really funny too, because there's a like a Martian Manhunter style character in the beginning, and that's the planet that gets taken over by the facehugger things. And when
Mars gets
yeah,
taken over by
Mars,
the
it's
facehuggers.
Mars. I forgot about. Oops. Yeah, because he's just the Martian. My bad. um, yeah, so they go to help him out, and they have no idea what's going on when they get there. So they go into this cave, and they're all living underground because they have to survive. And they kind of like accidentally let them all out. And the attitude towards that is like, get the hell off of our planet. What are you doing? they just. I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna say anymore. Just watch it. It's great. It's a great show. It's a great episode. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what I hope to see. It's just kind of how they deal with these threats, the character growth. If Amber gets written better, that'd be nice. Um,
I expect her to be written out of the show eventually. She
Probably.
doesn't seem like she is a major character.
Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see about that one. That's kind of the nice thing about shows these days. Like ever since The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, which kind of revolutionized how characters are brought in and taken out of shows. Let's be honest. I mean, you never know who's going to die week to week.
Sure, and
It could be one of those.
There's actually one of the things that sort of disappointed me with the show is in the first episode they murdered like 12 people who were all established. And then throughout the rest of the season, I don't think any major characters died, even though they had some scenes where it looked like Monster Girl got her head smashed open, and the other guy got stomped. The black guy with the armor got stomped
Oh yeah,
pretty hard.
Samson.
Samson, his name
Black
is Black Samson.
Black Samson. You know, maybe this is a bit controversial to say. I don't know, but can we stop naming black superheroes black this or dark that? Like, is that just me? I don't know. Anyway.
Does that happen? I feel like there's Black Panther.
Black Panther, Black Lightning, Static Shock's good. That one's good.
Who's Black Lightning? Is that a guy?
He's Marvel, I think. I want to say.
I've never heard.
His whole thing is he talks and people die. That's his whole thing.
Is he black? Is he like?
Yeah, he's a black dude.
African-American?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm just saying, like we need more Static Shocks in the world. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, see, I do remember Static Shock. Static Shock was great. I don't think the name, having the word black in their name, is a big deal.
I think they did it on purpose, to be honest, because it's a little.
Probably. I mean, so much of the show is just obvious. Like, it's an obvious tongue-in-cheek reference to whatever's going on. And I'd like to know if there's a cat monster, an alien cat monster, and I kind of want to know if that's inspired by the Kaizen from Larry Niven's Ringworld, or I can't think of what the actual, like, it's called like the Greater Space Universe or something.
I'd have to go back and look at that. That must have been near the end or something.
The cat thing is the one that like ripped Mark's gut open and smashed
Oh,
Hero-Girl's head in.
oh,
He's like
that
Battle
thing.
Beast. Battle Beast is what his name is.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he should. That episode was such. It was kind of a mess, but I still liked it, because
I love
they
the
have
fight
these.
scene.
Yeah, it was great. Like they introduced these. I don't know if it was just him, who was like the other worldly threat, but it was him. He was definitely from like another universe or something.
It felt
And
like the Sinister Six. That
yeah,
guy called
basically,
in Sinister Six to fight them.
they had
And
one
I
of
hope.
Red Rush's old foes there too.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
the Electro guy. That's right.
yeah,
That's right. A guy who is exactly Electro.
yeah. He's Elektra.
He's Electro. His face mask looks like him.
But I mean, yeah, more or less. I'm just kind of excited to see what they do. I'm assuming it'll be out sometime this year, hopefully.
Hopefully, I definitely will be tuning in. I feel just so pessimistic. Like after having been a fan of Lost, been a fan of Game of Thrones, and been burned by so many shows that just go into the shitter. Um, Season 1 of Invincible is almost perfect. It's an almost perfect piece of entertainment. It's a perfect story. Uh, I hope they can keep up the level of quality. And like I said, I'm definitely going to watch season 2, but the pessimistic side of me just thinks it's not going to be as good. But we'll see.
I feel you. I feel you.
I hope I'm wrong. But I'll be tuning in either way. And when it comes out, I'm sure you'll hear our opinions about it. And
I mean, we might as well, right?
we may as well.
Yeah.
I see we've crossed over 1 hour here. Do you have any last words?
No, I mean that's pretty much it. I think we've said everything that we need to say about it. Anyway, give us any feedback on how you think the show went, what we could do better, what we could do less better. I don't know.
We're looking into better solutions of audio quality. I got to apologize. I know my mic sounds like ass. JT looks like ass. We got all things that we're working on improving.
Yeah, we're just kind of taking it a week at a time. It's fun though, I got to say it's nice being back at it. All I really got to say here at the end, closing out, I guess, is, Twitter handles and stuff. I did make a Twitter, and I made a Getter too. That just feels dirty.
I tried to make a Getter, but it was like so bogged down. I couldn't get.
It's just red Twitter. It's red Twitter. That's all it is. It's the same thing.
It's got Joe Rogan and hopefully Donald Trump and like some of the people who have been silenced or censored. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene, is that her name?
Yeah.
One of the congresswomen who got banned off of Twitter. She's on Getter now.
Yeah.
Could be the next place. Who knows? Twitter's trash.
I'm on all the places, whether they're trash or not, because you gotta be.
I am not. I tried to make a Getter. I'm not there. I'm on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle? It's
pretty easy now. It's pretty easy now. On Twitter, on Getter, on anything, actually, Twitch D Live, all this stuff. You should just be able to look up JTFM. It's
JTFM, because I got a follow from somebody that's JT2004.
Yeah, ignore that one. Ignore that one.
Is that a fake one?
No, that was my old account, and I couldn't like figure out how to change the handle or something. So I was just like, screw it, I'll just make another one. It's fine.
Okay.
So you got 2 free follows from me. Look at that.
Yeah, I'm still on @WarrenWhiskey. There's underscores before and after, and you can hit me up. WarrenWhiskey.com. That has a link to my Twitter. I'm on Discord too. JT wanted me to show my Discord last time. We're doing a fitness routine, or really it's a
goal routine. It's a goal routine.
It's a goal self-improvement exercise called 100 Days of War. We're 6 days into it right now. JT and I, we've stopped drinking for this period. Been working out more.
At least drinking as much anyway,
Well, I've completely cut out alcohol for the past 6 days, which has been a little bit of a burn, because I know I like to come on here and have a few drinks, loosen up, really get into my rants without the constant liquor infused brain.
what is it? It's like Exist
imposed thoughts.
existence is pain to a me seeks.
Yeah. This is awful. I have to like write shit down, think about things. I can't just get drunk and shout about how Facebook is an apparatus that steals men's souls. But we'll get back to that at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, if this show goes anywhere, I have another idea for a show that, because due to its nature, I think will have to be behind a paywall. But it'll be
Is there gonna be a lot of drinking involved?
I don't see why not.
Okay, I'm sold.
But yeah, that's certainly stuff. I don't. It's not. I mean, it's not going to be like the most controversial crap you ever heard. I mean, it's just. It's stuff you can't say on. It's stuff you can't say without getting banned on friggin' yeah. We're not gonna be screaming the N-word for like 2 hours or anything. Like, don't worry about that.
We will be on the FBI's most wanted list, I'm sure.
But yeah, that's just an idea. You know, if we get anywhere, I'll certainly pitch it and see what people think.
Stuff to look forward to, folks.
Yeah.
Stuff. The ColleidoCast network has lot of big plans for the future.
CC.
Get in here. CC. CC. Gay. Oh shit! I probably can't say that.
Yeah, you just got me banned off Twitch.
Cut that off. Just cut the last 10 seconds, guys. Tune in next week. Bye.
Take it easy, guys.